All right, let's begin at the Vatican right now. It's just past 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The church's newly elected Pope wasted very little time in getting to work. You're seeing right next to me Pope Leo XIV, right before he held his first Mass this morning, fewer than 24 hours since his surprise election. And of course, we brought you that incredible moment live yesterday in St. Peter's Square as the Vatican, along with the rest of the world, welcomed the first American Pope. You can just hear the cheers among the, hundreds, if not thousands of people. The Chicago-born pontiff spoke in Latin, Italian, and in Spanish in his first remarks from the balcony of the Sistine Chapel. But this morning, he also spoke in English.
I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals, as we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us.
And he went on to say in Italian that the greatness of the church comes not from the grandeur of its buildings, but through the holiness of her members. CBS News Papal contributor Francis Rocca joins us now from Rome with more on all of this. Frank, what do you make of the message in this morning's Mass as we round out the new Pope's first day?
Well, I was struck by the references to the hostility of much of society toward Christians and religious believers. It said that people are seen as weak or unintelligent if they believe in God, as were some of the followers of Jesus. So that's interesting. It's kind of a countercultural note that we haven't heard so much during the pontificate of Francis. It recalls a bit more the pontificate of Benedict XVI, in which the church is kind of at odds with secular society.
I want to acknowledge the choice of name and his attire, because when someone goes from cardinal to becoming pope, they take on representing the entire church. So what do these first few hints suggest about how he will lead?
Well, of course, since, as we know, there have been 13 Leos before, but most of the people have been struck by the reference, they have been reminded of Leo XIII, who at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century was a pope who was very influential and who inaugurated the modern phase of Catholic social teaching. He wrote about industrial society and the challenges for the church. He also criticized socialism and liberalism, but he also defended the rights of workers. So in some ways a conservative figure, in some ways a progressive figure. So that's very interesting. It suggests that Pope Leo XIV will be emphasizing Catholic social teaching, but might also take a balanced approach to these matters.
And I believe...
As for his vestments, you asked about his attire.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Well, it's interesting because Pope Francis famously, when he came out onto the loggia right after being elected in 2013, didn't wear this red cape called a mozzetta. And a lot of people were struck by this. It was part of his simplicity, his austerity, his humility. But Pope Leo came out with, and he wore that. So that's also a sign that, okay, Francis was deviated from tradition, and that was interesting, but the tradition is still around.
And do we know yet where Pope Leo XIV might choose to live? Because as was the case with Pope Francis, that also hinted, in Francis's case, a more humble approach.
No, we don't yet, and that will be very telling. You're quite right, because Pope Francis chose to live in the Vatican guest house. That actually created a lot of problems practically over the course of his 12-year pontificate. They had to close off basically a wing of the second floor to protect him in terms of security. So in fact, it was a symbolic gesture, but it wasn't very practical. So a lot of people are assuming that Pope Leo will go back to the Apostolic Palace, which is a grand building, although the papal apartments in there are pretty modest. I mean, they're comfortable, but they're not palatial in the way that some of the Apostolic Palaces. So we'll see what happens. And on Monday he meets the press, and he'll probably explain a little bit more about his name and maybe some of these other things.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Frank Rocca, what a day to be in Rome and at the Vatican. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's cross over now to CBS News correspondent Lana Zak. She is in Chicago this morning. Lana, good morning to you once again. We just heard from church officials where you are for the first time since this major announcement. So what did they share?
Errol, you just missed it. The church bells were ringing as parishioners started to file out from Mass here. Let's listen to a little bit of what the vicar had to say.
There was so much wonderful attention and so much focus on who the new Pope was going to be. What was he going to be like? What was he going to wear? And then once we found out it was a Chicago, and the question was, is he a White Sox fan or is he a Cubs fan? Is he going to be a Bears fan? Where do the Packers fit into all of this? Those are good questions, because what they do is they lead us or give us an opportunity to share with people who we are as a body of Christ, who we are as a Christian.
And Errol, I have to tell you, being there, I attended part of that Mass. It was really very moving, and so much of it focused on that idea that Pope Leo has not been elevated to the head of the church as much as he has been called by God to be a shepherd. Again, tying into the humility of the position and how very ordinary in some ways his upbringing and his roots are.
Yeah, and I know that our local affiliate has spoken with one of his brothers, who did share the scoop that he is a White Sox fan when it comes down to which teams he's rooting for. What else did we hear from him, and what other insight is it giving us into the man himself?
Yeah, that was a huge debate here in Chicago for a while. Was he a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan? That has been resolved by his brother, that he did, in fact, grow up and continues to be a White Sox fan. But he also said that he was extraordinary, even from a young age, choosing to play priest when they were children. Here's what he had to say.
Shock, disbelief, a whole lot of pride, a whole lot of, is this for real? Now what are we going to do? That kind of stuff, because this is an awesome responsibility that we have to live up to, that he has to live up to. People are going to be watching him from now on, closer than ever, and maybe us too.
And as you know, John Prevost was also on our air and shared some of those experiences and just how proud he is of his brother. We understand that he is going to be traveling to Rome shortly to be with him to celebrate.
And that's what strikes me, Lana. I mean, all of our anchors and correspondents in Rome and at the Vatican were shocked to hear this news. And so to be speaking to people who he's related to, who are still absorbing that surprise, I think is really interesting. What about some of his former neighbors who also are dealing with the fact that they know the Pope?
Isn't that incredible? I mean, in some ways, absolutely shocking. There has never in the 2,000-year history of the church been an American pope, and folks here know him. Here's what one of his former neighbors had to say.
When we were little, besides riding bikes, these guys and the guys over there that lived in that house, okay, and we used to play Mass. I'm serious, we used to play Mass. Okay, and you know how kids role play? All right. And there used to be, they still have them, little candies. They're like little wafers, but inside they're beads, and on the outside, they're like little flying saucers. You know, that candy? We'd break them apart and we'd pretend, you know, play, and we'd use those as the hosts.
And I remember when Pope Francis was elevated, hearing those stories about his childhood, and now hearing those childhood stories that resonate for many of us Midwesterners because it sounds so similar to our experiences. You know, he served here as an altar boy. His brother still lives in the Chicago area. He even served, Errol, as a substitute teacher at one of the Catholic schools here. Even though he spent much of his ministry in Peru, he has deep Chicago roots.
Yeah, just fascinating to see that lady even giggling and laughing with these childhood memories that they used to play Mass, I guess, while the rest of us were playing house. Really great stuff. Lana Zak in Chicago with the backstory on the new Pope. Lana, thanks so much.